Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. So let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the weird parts of us and how they're actually beautiful, lovely little things. And today I have an amazing guest with me, Candy Motzek. Candy is a business coach, and she specializes in empowering intelligent professionals to launch and grow successful coaching businesses. With a unique blend of practical strategy and mindset mastery, Candy helps her clients achieve greater clarity. Her calming and personalized approach enables coaches to play bigger, sign more clients, and create meaningful and profitable success. As a recovering corporate executive and engineer, she combines her extensive business acumen with deep understanding of personal development to guide her clients towards their fullest potential. Welcome, Candy. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
I'm so excited for our conversation. Really looking forward to it.
Me too. And I love that, we're both like in the same part of the world and we've met in person and now we're doing this podcast together. I just love how in this coaching world of ours that we get to make these amazing connections with amazing people.
Yeah, it's super. And not very often we get to talk to people that we live like half an hour away from. Usually it's a big, long plane ride, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Different time zones. So tell us about how you got into this field of work and just why you're so passionate about it.
Mm. Yeah, so I think like most coaches or many coaches that I know, I had a life, like my life looked really great on the outside. I had the title, I had great salary and benefits and all the things, and everything looked good on the outside. And then on the inside, it was just like a desolate wasteland. I was so unhappy. And it got to this point where I would cry every Sunday, knowing that I had to get with it and be on the ball on Monday.
Oh.
And, that's like not a really great spot to be in. And so I hung out in that place for quite a long time because I was too nervous to make a change. Like, it's hard when you think that that's kind of all life is supposed to be. And then I worked with my own coach and I did coach training. And I wasn't really doing that training thinking that I was going to make a change, but it just lit something in me. And I was like, "Ah, you know what? I got to do something different. And this is the thing." So now I'm satisfied and happy. Big difference. Big difference.
Yay. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, as similar feelings to me, when I was in corporate. Not that I would cry on the Sundays, but I would notice that I would have anxiety on a Sunday, or I'd be like, "Oh no, it's Sunday night." Like, oh, like I had this feeling of sort of dread knowing that I had to go to my corporate job the next morning. Yeah, or anxiety would come out either or sometimes at the same time. And yeah, that's a good sign of being like, maybe a change needs to happen. Not sure what, but something.
Yeah. And I love that you shared that you used to feel that dread or the anxiety. I think there's lots of people that feel that way and kind of gives them permission that they can experience that and still make a change.
Exactly. And then I think about that in comparison. For example, for those listeners out there, I know you don't know when we record these things, but it's a Monday. And, last night I was super excited. I had a new client. Our first appointment was going to be Monday morning at 8 a.m. And I was like, I gotta, get to bed, but will I be able to sleep? Because I'm in such this energetic mood, and I woke up early before my alarm, which never happens. And just super excited to start my day and be in this business that I'm in. So it's just amazing when you actually think about that. You're like, oh yeah, I used to dread Sunday nights, and now I'm
Yeah.
like excited.
What a great transformation. I love that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us, what does authenticity mean to you?
So authenticity for me is honesty. And it's an honesty about being who I am. So being honest with myself about who I am and what I want, and then actually allowing that to guide my actions and to, sort of dictate what I do and who I spend time with and the kinds of projects that I work on. So it's this thing about honesty and integrity and then the follow through of actually being that too.
Yes, and I think that can be the difficult part sometimes. We might know, sort of who we are, but actually like following through on it. I love that honesty because honesty is a huge value of mine. And I never really kind of thought about linking it with being authentic, but you're right. It's like, yeah. And it's those moments where you can be like, do I really want that? Like, am I actually really being honest with myself right now? And, how can my actions follow that?
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard this quote that really spoke to me. It said something like, all change begins with honesty. And so there's these times that we think we might want something, but if are we actually working towards that? Are we actually taking the steps or making the changes to go towards that and being really honest with ourselves about what is it that we want and are we willing to do those things?
Hmm. And if you do know it's what you want and you're not making progress towards it, what's going on there? And could you like kind of dive into it and figure out what's going on? Is something
Yeah.
that alignment. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
So I love the title of our show, Weird Parts of Us. So let's kind of talk about, and I think we can talk about it in both sort of business as entrepreneurship and in our life as well about, like the weird things that we do in life and how we can kind of give ourselves permission to do that. If we're actually honest with ourselves and what do we want? What do we like in our lives and in our business and being our true authentic selves and then actually giving ourselves permission to do those things, even though they might be a little strange or maybe you don't think that, not quite the status quo. Oh,
Yeah, I love that. And then I think about this kind of the way that this weird thing starts is allowing yourself to want what you want. Like if something looks
mm,
fun and it's not going to hurt anybody, it's, not unethical, it's not illegal, it's not, anything harming, then why can't you allow yourself to want to do the thing? And so often we get really hung up on this idea that what will people think? Will people think that I'm exceedingly odd because I have weird hobbies or, I do things that are unusual or maybe a little out of the norm? But if it starts with that authenticity of like, what do I really want? What looks really fun or inspiring or just really piques my curiosity, So we start there, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah. And just letting go of that. What is anybody else going to think of me? I come across that it's just so at this point in time in my life, I am a single woman and I live on my own. And, I, even just like my behaviors sometimes, I like to sing out loud or like do a little dance or kind of like, like if I get such a get excited about something or I like quote things or I don't know, just like stuff comes out of my mouth and it's just so funny. And I think I'm hilarious, of course. And then I think I'm like, if I, found my life partner, I'm like, would I do these things in front of him? And it makes me wonder that, like, I wonder, would I allow myself to actually be as silly as I am on my own at home as I would in front of anybody else? Because I don't think that many people see that side of me.
Yeah, right. Like it's a whole I mean, I would hope the answer is yes, right? Like if you find your life partner and you're so connected, then it would be only natural for you to do all the things that you currently do. But still, there's that little element of fear, right? Like,
Mm.
what will somebody else think of me, no matter how much you love them or how close they are to you?
Yeah, yeah. So how can you give yourself, permission to do that? To just be like, no, I'm just gonna be me and take it or leave it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
What's an example of a weird thing in your life that you do?
Oh, gosh. And it's funny because when we first started talking about this for 2 minutes, I thought of a couple things, but then the list is growing. Um, so for me, I think one of the weirdest things is that I don't like parties. And that's kind of an unusual thing. People don't get that. Like, you're supposed to love parties. Parties are fun and all that. But truthfully, I don't like them because they're fast interactions and it's usually too loud and I don't get enough time to really connect with people and I just find them draining. So that's one thing is, my husband originally gave me a surprise birthday party many, many years ago. And while he loves parties, and I know that he did that as a real gesture of love, for me, it was like, not the thing. Just not the thing. So that's one example. So you're not ever going to see me at some big fancy party, wandering around with a glass of wine, schmoozing people and chit-chatting and all of that. Like you're going to find me if I'm there. I'm on the couch over in the corner having a conversation with one or two people and that would be it.
I love that. Yeah, there is, interestingly enough, in society, this pressure to do that, right? Like we kind
Yeah.
of associate it with success, even, or prestige, or being, social and popular and things like that, right? Which is all these things that kind of, I feel like society is sort of telling us that we need to be like. And so I love that you're just like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that stuff anymore. It just reminds me of the book by Susan Cain. I think it's called Quiet, right? And she talks about how this, lots of socialization and lots of parties and get togethers. That's a real North American concept that we have to be extroverted, that there's a lot of people who are quite introverted and find parties very draining. And so I think I'm a little unusual in that I admit that I don't like them, but I think there's lots of people that secretly go, "Oh, me too. I don't want to go to that giant get together. Just, let me stay home or let me go for dinner with a group of friends." Like just that, right?
Yes, yes. And I think that, like, for me in my life, I totally made that transition where, again, like, that was the way I kind of thought I had to be. And having not really realizing that I have social anxiety. And so, what would curb that? Well, drinking. So, like, I just ask my friends, like, I would always go out for drinks because that would kind of, take that edge off. And therefore, I could be more social and it kind of, lets your inhibitions sort of go away. And so, a lot of my friends think that I am an extroverted, but actually I'm quite introverted and I would need that in order to do it because I kind of thought I had to be that way. And it's only sort of in the last maybe 5 years I've really, really let my introverted self shine through and just and then I notice it now. Like if there is a party that I get invited to and I have said yes, like I noticed leading up to it the anxiety that I get, or like I think about it, or all of a sudden it'd even be the day up and I'm like, oh, why am I feeling so tired? And it was like, oh, it's because I don't want to go to this party. I don't want to
And the next morning you're like full of energy.
go.
Like, because it's like, okay, that's done. And it's not that I don't like the people. I do. I just don't like them when there's so many of them and that it's so loud, right? Like
Hmm.
that's the thing. So anyway, that's one of my weird quirks. And it took a while for me to be really honest about that I just don't enjoy that. But I also have weird hobbies. And I think it's tied to this idea that you can allow yourself to do something that's unusual just because it looks like fun and because you love it, right?
Yeah. And what is one of those fun things that you love?
So one of my favorite hobbies is that I dance. I do ballet. And
Oh, wow.
I have I started dance as an adult and it's a really unusual hobby because I started with the adult classes and then for a number of years my dance instructor, we were friends and she said, "Listen, why don't you just come to the teenager classes?" And so I would go to the classes with the young ladies who were 13, 14, 15 years old and stand in the back and I would do everything that they did. But I was significantly older than they were. And it really it really changed my life to allow myself to do something that I never had a chance to do when I was younger. And I'm not very good, but I really love it. And there's the other thing, like, is it okay to have a hobby that you're really not very talented at, but you just love, right? And it turned into such a welcoming environment. I found out that these young people were so open and genuine and kind. It really changed my view on teenagers and how they are and who they are and, you know, how open-minded they are. It was lovely. I don't dance with teenagers anymore, but I still dance weekly. And it's super fun.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I was listening as you were saying that. I was like, would I have the guts to do that? To go dance in front of a teenager? And of course, I'm imagining them to be very petite little ballerinas and me coming
Mhm.
in
Oh,
only
yeah.
twice the size of them and like, and not like half as flexible, like I can't get my leg up on that pole. And
Exactly. But you know what happens is they're I had one young lady, I mean, she's a lawyer now, but she would always have me stand behind her at the bar. So when you do ballet, you always start the class at the bar and do exercises as you're warming up and working on your technique. And I always stood behind her because she knew that lots of times I couldn't remember what we were supposed to do, especially when it was new. And that just gave me somebody to kind of use as a reminder. And that allowed me to calm down enough to then learn it for myself. But I mean, she would have been 13 or 14 at the time and I would have been maybe 45. Like you think about the kindness of that person to say, "Hey, Candy, stand behind me. Don't worry. Yeah, I got you."
yeah, follow
Right?
my lead. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Hmm.
The leader in the making right there.
Yes, exactly. And she is very much so. She's a wonderful woman.
That's amazing. And how about in business? We were kind of talking about this earlier about, how kind of us solopreneurs can have the freedom to sort of do what we want in our businesses and like set up things as we want because we're no longer, especially as both of us kind of came out of that corporate environment where you can feel quite confined and kind of like put into a box or the way you need to behave and speak and what you can do and what you can't do. But as an entrepreneur, you have all this freedom to do some weird things in your business.
Yeah. And so I guess for me, the quirky thing that I have is I work in my she shed. And it's just a little shed. It's 120 square feet in my backyard. And I'm overlooking the mountains and the farmlands here in the Vancouver area. And lots of people who are full time entrepreneurs, especially online entrepreneurs, we talk about how great it is to, work the laptop lifestyle on the beach. And I'm not into it. Like
Me
when I'm
either.
working, I want to be working. And then I will go outside and do my outside things. I don't like that crossover because I don't get to focus. I get all distracted. And I'm like, working is satisfying and fulfilling and fun in its own way, but I don't want it to cross over with time on the beach when I want to go swimming. Do you know what I mean? Like I like to
Mhm.
keep my work work and then my outside time.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And there's just so many things about that that I'm always like, well, like I think I get it from the perspective of the freedom of it and that if you wanted to like travel and work, you can sort of set your own hours and all that kind of stuff, which, I think is kind of some of the benefits of that type of lifestyle, but you can have that at home as well. And I think about things, I'm like, well, like I like to be ergonomically set up in my desk. I got
Yeah.
like my monitors that are the right height. I got my chair that perfectly fits my butt and and everything's like really, and I think about that like, oh, I'd be hunched over or in some random, chair and table or wherever it is, I think that would
Yeah,
really,
some Starbucks on a hard table with a desk that's the wrong height. And it's not that
yeah.
when I'm away, I do find a place to work. Like I went on a cruise in September and I found this really great lounge that during the daytime, there was nobody in there and just a couple of other people who had also found it and were working. And so I'd go up there and I'd do maybe an hour, maybe two, a couple of days a week. And that was it. And that was fine. But it was like, I didn't want to be sitting out by the pool working.
Right.
I didn't want to be sitting in the restaurant working. I wanted to kind of keep that separation because it kept my brain organized and clean.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. And the other thing I love about the freedom of being an entrepreneur is like, I think about what are the weird things or is, well, for a while there, I think this was more when I first quit corporate where I was quite burnt out. And so I integrated a nap into my into my day. So I would do have this routine where I would have lunch, have a nap, have a coffee, go for a walk. It was like this little sort of like hour within my day. It was only like a 20-minute nap. And I like on my couch even wouldn't go to bed or anything. And just, like have this amazing little me time in the middle of my day, which would kind of energize me to, continually working in the afternoon. And I don't do it as
love
much
that.
anymore. Yeah. It was so great. I was like, what do I want? I'm like, I want a nap. I love napping.
And that transition can be a big thing, right? So
Hmm.
wonderful that you get to choose like what you asked yourself and you gave it to yourself. What do I want? I want a nap.
Exactly, exactly. And now it's so much nicer that I don't because I'm not burnt out or, I don't feel like I need it. Of course, if I have a tired day, I could go take a nap if I want to, but I find I don't need it as much anymore. But I remember just loving that, the choice of that, and that there was no guilt associated with it. Where, if I had done that in my corporate job, I would feel guilty or I'd have to, like, oh, is anybody going to notice that I'm offline for 20 minutes or, what have you. And I really love that little weird thing I did every afternoon.
I love that. That's great. And you know what? Anybody could do that. You don't need much time. Like you said, like the whole thing was an hour and then you'd kind of had the nutrition, had a snooze, got a little bit of fresh air and some movement. And you were probably, it was like first thing in the morning again, I bet.
Yeah, it was this great little reset. Yeah, I really loved it. Yeah, and I love that you're in a she shed. This is like one of my favorite words.
Mine too.
And everybody listening, you got to go look up Candy in LinkedIn because she often will post a picture of her beautiful view and she shed. And she's like, "How was your morning?" I'm like, "Oh, I wish I had that view first thing in the morning. That would be beautiful."
Yeah. And we're almost at the end of October, but I literally just fertilized my window boxes. I still have tons of flowers, and I'm surprised. I can't believe that we're this far into fall, and still I've got blooming flowers everywhere. It's really great.
Oh, that makes it even more pretty.
Exactly. And in the wintertime, I put up my Christmas decorations.
Another fun thing about, yeah, sort of the entrepreneurship that you sort of mentioned was before we came on this show was about like the things we have on our desk.
Yeah.
Like I like to have little things on my desk. I've got this little stone that says follow your dreams. I've got this magnet that says I am a money magnet. I got this little stress ball that says you got this. I got a little Buddha. I got all these little things that I love to just look at and kind of inspire myself. What little weird things do you have?
Oh, well, I got a whole host of little things, but the thing that I just wanted to say, there's something here. It's when we're talking about this theme of having quirky, odd things that maybe not everybody has, is that people don't need to know that you have those things. Like sometimes you can have a hobby and everybody knows about it and they think that that's interesting, kind of once they've, sort of gotten used to it. But then sometimes you don't have to make everything public. So, like you were saying, what you've got on your desk. Now, for me, nobody knows that as I sit here, I've got my coffee cup on a coaster that is artwork that my VA's husband did. And so she sent me a number of printed gifts with the different pieces of artwork that he's done, and it's gorgeous. And then I've got a giant amethyst crystal. I
Mm.
find feathers everywhere. So I've got this interesting feather. I think it's a blue heron. And so half of it is white and half of it is gray. I've got a Lemurian quartz crystal and I have rose quartz. And then I have a box with archangel cards in it that I like to pull every once in a while, just to pull a card, to share with a client or something like that. So, people don't know what I've got on my desk. And that's okay. I can have my little collection of things, unusual things, and they're just here for me to make me happy.
Exactly. That's what mine are like too. And I love that you said that. Yeah, nobody has to know. It kind of reminds me of I can't remember. Maybe it was Sex in the City that talked about the SSBs, the secret single behaviors, like
Oh,
the single women
I
have.
saw that show.
And so they had this concept of, yeah, secret single behaviors, like the secret things that you do as a single woman. And it just kind of reminded me that, like, oh, what are the single things you do as a solopreneur?
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's a
And
whole
nobody has to
episode
know
there.
about them. They can remain secret.
Yeah, there's a whole episode there. That's
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been so much fun. I hope that the listeners that are listening to this right now, are kind of feeling inspired to, know that it's okay to have your little secret behaviors or your little weird things that you do, and that to really give yourself permission to do them, and whether you share them or not, that is entirely up to you. And remember that all change begins with honesty, and really just allow yourself to want what you want, whether it's weird or not. And yeah, do those fun things that you love. Again, whether it's weird or not. So, Candy, how can our listeners find you online?
So the easiest place to find me is on my podcast, and it's called She Coaches Coaches. And you've been a guest a couple of times, so they can come and check out your episodes where we've had a great conversation.
Yes, indeed. Yes, go do that, everybody. She coaches coaches. And to finish us off, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I think that it's so often we think that people are going to have opinions about what we like or what we do. And most of the time they don't. Most of the time they might go, oh, that's kind of unusual, but then they accept it and it gives them permission to do the things they want to do too. So if you've got sort of a desire or some kind of an unusual hobby that you've been wanting to do and you just haven't gotten the courage up to do it, remember that maybe you're going to be a role model for somebody, and that makes it pretty special.
That is pretty special. And also, yeah, if there is something you're going to go do, there's likely a group of other people that you're going to be joining doing the same thing.
Exactly.
So you know that you're not alone.
Very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Candy. It was so wonderful having you on the show.
Oh, thanks again. Really appreciate it. And I enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.